Hello everyone, Roland here. As those of you who subscribe to my channel know, I've been working on a Ram ProMaster van conversion. I'm finally at that point in my build where I'm installing my windows. I'm going to install a total of 3 and probably even a skylight. In advance of that, I started looking around for instructional videos on the install process. And I wasn't really impressed with anything that I found out there. I couldn't find a thorough video of the entire process from start to finish. So I decided to make my own. This is the first time I've ever done a van window install. It's the first time I've ever cut into the side of my van for any reason whatsoever. So as you can imagine, I ran into quite a few trials and tribulations. As a result, this needs to be a 2-part video series just because there's so much information to cover. In this video here, what we'll do is an unboxing. Then we'll have a mini tour of the construction and the features of the window. Then we'll create the cardboard template that's used to mark out the hole that you're going to cut. We'll construct the wooden frame that the window mounts into. Then in part 2, we'll actually head to the van. We'll transfer that cardboard template to the wall. We'll cut the hole. We'll mount the wooden frame to the wall. We'll mount the window into the frame. And then I should have a few tips and tricks on fit and finish to make the install look nice. That's about it. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos that I'm making. If so, I would appreciate it if you hit that like button and definitely subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and to keep up with the build process. Also, as always, please feel free to leave some comments or questions down below. I do my best to answer any questions that folks leave behind. With that, let's head to the garage and get started. So I'm super stoked today because my first window for my van conversion finally arrived today. I've been waiting on this thing for a little over a month. And I consider myself lucky because they said I was going to get it at the end of November. And here we are at the beginning of November, so this is fantastic. Anyway, what I ordered was an Arctic Tern Eurovision style window. And this is an awning style that goes out like this, and it's got the integrated screen and the integrated blind. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox it here and go through the installation. So the window came in a box like this. It's a pretty good sized box, if you can see. And it opens from this end. So you got to cut on 3 sides, cut the tape off. It opens like that. And then inside you will find the window and the frame behind it with the integrated blind and integrated screen. And it's just held in place by these 4 little pieces of styrofoam. There's 2 more in that bag there, and the whole thing is encased in this bag. It also includes some instructions, but I would recommend going to their website. They have some instructions called Considerations for Fitment, and you should definitely read that. Alright, let's take a closer look at these windows. Alright, so here's the window here. Looks real nice. I mean, it looks very high quality, feels high quality. Underneath this plastic, it actually says Eurovision right there. And then down here it's got another silver sticker that says Arctic Tern. So here we have our screen and blind assembly. And they say that you can flip this around and you can have the screen on the top or the blind on the top. It's up to you. And they say if you have the screen at the top, it's supposed to be better because you can lower the screen and block incoming light, say, harsh glare from the sun or something like that. But if you flip it around and you have the blind coming up from the bottom, it's advantageous because you can have more privacy. So, if you have, if you're in your shorts or something like that. But anyway, it's kind of clear to me because there's some stamped writing on here that says ATRV, I think. And due to the orientation of that, it's clear to me that probably the more common is to have whatever this is, the screen at the bottom and the blind at the top. Let's roll this out. Looks very nice. I like how it stays in place at any location. Let's try the screen. Okay, that's nice. Oh, it looks like the screen wants to retract. No big deal. And then you can couple them together, obviously, just like that. And then I think these move together too, which is kind of neat. Very cool. Alright, here it is from the other side. So I was reading in the instructions, and what they recommend that you do is to use the inside frame to make a cardboard template. Well, the first thing that I was thinking was, geez, I don't have any cardboard. Where am I going to get it from? Well, duh. This thing comes with 2 giant size pieces of cardboard, so I could use one, and if I make a mistake, I could use the other. I didn't even know there was an inner frame and an outer frame, but yeah, it looks like there's the inner frame there, this guy, because the window swings, there's the hinges, so the window swings out that way. That would be the bottom. This is the top. These look like clips where the blind and screen assembly hangs. So I have a feeling what you got to do is remove all these screws. There's about 6 and 6, 12 plus 6, there's 18 screws all the way around. So I think if you remove all of those, then the inner frame pops off. You put the inner frame down here and do an outline. Okay, I've already started to remove some of these screws. Let's continue. A magnetic screwdriver is definitely handy here. So you can lift those screws right out. I think this might be my last one. Woohoo! Alright, so this should be able to lift off now. Okay, yeah, look at that. This is nice and light, so this is going to be easy to work with as I'm tracing out my cardboard template. Fantastic! Time to trace out this template. And the first thing I did is, I'm taping this down because I don't want this thing to move on me as I'm tracing this out. Good. Also don't want it to raise up. Make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, here we go. Due to the fact this is a really sharp angle that I gotta put my pencil in here, I'm a little concerned that it's gonna go between the cardboard and the frame. I gotta really push down hard on this thing. Sure, I'm glad I taped this down. Okay, I got better lighting on this side. Looks like it's working. These corners are the trickiest part. Okay, one more edge. Okay, come on, baby. Hopefully this worked out. Okay, yes. That looks pretty not too shabby. That looks great. Alright, here goes the cutting, and I'm not sure whether to use scissors or this utility knife. I'm going to try the knife to start off with. It seems like it's working well, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to go over this a couple of times. Yeah, actually I don't like it. Switch to the scissors. Oh man, that's going to be a trick. Maybe I'll use this to get in there. There we go. Actually, that wasn't so bad after all. I think I just got concerned about doing the corners. But doing these straight areas is probably easier with the utility knife. Oh, I see. Some really tough tape on this side. Now something just occurred to me. I just remembered reading somewhere that you want to make sure that the cut hole is 3 millimeters bigger than the window size. So I guess that would be 1.5 millimeters on each side. Okay, so I'm just going to do a test fitment here. Make sure things are looking good. And let's line up this corner. Line up this edge. So I think this is working. And in terms of making sure that there's a little bit of extra room, I think what I can do is once I transfer this template to the van wall, I'll just use something like a thick felt tip magic marker to make my mark. And then what I'll try to do is I'll cut on the outside of that line, and that should give me the additional thickness that I need. Okay, false alarm. Let's continue cutting this thing. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's do another test. The inside frame. Looks like I went in a little bit shallow there. So that's the better edge to use. I'll just have to make a note. A mental note. Well, I rely on my memory. Okay, looking good. Alright, so being as I am a measure twice or 3 times or 4 times or 5 times kind of a person, I want to make sure I fully understand this before I start making my template. So I got all the screws off and the frame comes right off, the inner frame. And now I started taking a look at this right here. So looking at my invoice, I ordered the 450 by 1100 in the 24 to 34 millimeter wall thickness. What that means to me is if I have the thing assembled, that should be 24 to 34 millimeters in there. There's a rubber gasket here. According to the instructions, that's supposed to compress about 50%. So if I put my tape on the gasket, compress it down a little bit, I get to like about 0.95 inches right there. So I've got between flush and 1.4 inches. Now the provided screws, these are M4. I measured the length of them. They're about 3/4 of an inch. If I just barely screw it down, expand this all the way, I get basically 1 3/8. I'm going to screw it all the way down, and they tell you in the instructions you shouldn't let these screws bottom out, so I'm going to screw it all the way down and then I'm going to back it out a little bit. Okay, so that's all the way down, back it up about a turn, and let's see what that looks like. 1 3/16. I'm trying to figure out, how to make my wooden spacer here. And unfortunately for me, with the wood that I have, 1/2 inch wood, I was going to use 2 on top of one another to give me 1 inch. And unfortunately, that's not going to be thick enough. Let me verify that. Yeah, that's bottomed out. And see, it's not thick enough. The other option would be to use 3 of these. The maximum is 1 3/16. That exceeds the maximum here. So 3 wouldn't fit. So I think what I'm probably going to have to do is get some shorter screws. So I've gone back to the accompanying instructions that came with this, and it looks like they used to sell some different thickness frames. 24 to 30 30 to 34. These days they only sell a 24 to 34. What they've done is they've given us the M4 by 20 millimeters. And I think I really need an M4 by 14 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the hardware store. So I'm going to shorten the screws. That way I can still use 1 inch and just 2 of these pieces to make my frame. Well, this is just great. So I was throwing away some of the packing materials when I came across this bag that was taped to the plastic bag that contained everything, taped on the outside. And guess what? It's got some shorter screws in here. So I don't think I need to go to Home Depot after all. These guys are great. So they include both screw sizes. Okay, so here we are again, this time with the shorter screws. So like before, go ahead and put the screw in there. I'll take it all the way down to bottoming out. That feels like that's about right. And then I'm going to back it off about a turn. Let's see what we're looking at here. Yep. Okay, so it doesn't quite want to fit 2 pieces of wood. So let me back it out more. Now I can fit the 2 pieces of wood and my makeshift steel here. Let's just make sure that can go in there. I think we're gonna be good though. Makeshift steel and 2 pieces of 1/2 inch plywood, and I should still have enough room to be able to screw that down. And I do, and I feel like I'm not bottoming out. This is great. Yes, I'm ready to go. Okay, so I just got done making the wooden framing for the window. Take one of these apart. Basically, it's 2 layers of 1/2 inch plywood bonded together with wood glue. So there you go. A lot of clamps. Okay, I've taken all the clamps off. That's basically how it's going to be laid out. I'm going to use some kind of adhesive. I'm thinking VHB tape to tape this to the inside of the van wall. So there's 4 pieces, and I made the sides longer because approximately at this location is a place where you have to screw the frame that contains the roll-up shade and the roll-up screen. Those need to screw down, and so I wanted to make this a contiguous piece. Also, because of the fact that the walls of the van curve ever so slightly in the vertical orientation, not horizontal. Horizontal, it's pretty straight, but in the vertical there's a bit of a curvature. So I wanted these to be contiguous pieces on the side, because the instructions state that whenever you mount the window into the frame, you want the frame to have somewhat flattened the curvature of the wall. So it's important, I think, that the sides be a contiguous piece. As a matter of fact, I think, from what I could tell, the curvature is closer to the top. If instead you had this one extending over here, you would only have this little area right here to attempt to flatten the surface of the wall. Whereas when you have this long piece there, the entirety of this piece will add its strength and distribute that load along the entire piece of wood. I'm going to lay this out again in the van with the window and just double check to make sure that everything fits. Okay, that's going to do it for the first video. Once the second video goes live, you should find a link to it over here somewhere. Catch you on the next one.